Whether you think ghosts exist because of superstition, religion, or just humanity's desperate need to believe there's something after death beyond a cold metal slab, one thing's undeniable. People love a good ghost story. Some even take it a step further, seeking out the most haunted places on Earth just to feel a mysterious chill and instantly regret their life choices. If you're itching for an encounter that'll have you checking over your shoulder for weeks, these 15 places practically guarantee a paranormal punch to the gut. And trust us, you won't survive the visit unscathed. Number 15. The Whaley House, California, USA. The Whaley House in San Diego isn't just a little haunted, it's the haunted house, the kind that makes skeptics reconsider their whole belief system. Built in 1857, it's one of the oldest brick houses in the city. But let's be real, the real foundation here? Pure, undistilled bad luck. Thomas Whaley thought he was building a dream home, but unfortunately, he set it up on land that had been used for public executions. One particularly unlucky criminal, Yankee Jim Robinson, was hanged right where the parlor now sits. That's a real location fail. The Whaley family moved in and, shocker, it didn't go well. Fires, financial ruin, and the tragic death of their young child set the tone for a house steeped in misery. But the Whaleys weren't the only ones sticking around. Ghost hunters, historians, and adrenaline junkies now flock here for a chance to see shadowy figures, hear phantom footsteps, or experience an unexplained chill running down their spine. Even Ghost Adventures and BuzzFeed Unsolved had a go at it. And if a YouTube ghost hunter won't enter a room, well, you probably shouldn't either. Number 14. Corvin Castle, Romania. Corvin Castle looks like it was plucked straight from a medieval fairy tale, but the stories inside aren't happily ever after material. Built in the 15th century, this Romanian masterpiece is a feast for the eyes, but a complete horror show for the soul. It doubled as a prison and a torture chamber because apparently people back then thought charming architecture and cruel human suffering went hand in hand. The castle's most famous resident? Vlad the Impaler? Yes, that Vlad, the Dracula guy. Legend says he was locked up here for 7 years, left to gnaw on rats just to survive. Unsurprisingly, the experience turned him into a guy who really leaned into his whole impaling people for fun phase. But he wasn't the only one to suffer here. People claim to see ghostly monks lurking in the tower, feel unseen hands grabbing them, and hear disembodied voices whispering in the halls. And those who break in for a late-night dare? Let's just say they tend to come out looking like they've seen things. So, do you want to visit this heaven? Number 13. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. Edinburgh Castle is one of Scotland's top tourist attractions, which is amazing if you're into breathtaking views, medieval history, and absolute nightmare fuel. This place has been around since the 12th century and has seen enough bloodshed to make a horror movie look like a rom-com. We're talking witch burnings, pirate executions, and centuries of prisoners suffering in pitch-black dungeons. The vibes, well, they are not good at all. Ghost sightings here aren't just occasional. They're a full-blown industry. People report hearing ghostly bagpipes from underground tunnels, which is bad enough without the haunting, honestly, spotting a headless drummer roaming the corridors, and even encountering a 16th century noblewoman crying her way through the castle. That's a lot of trauma trapped in one place. If you ever visit and hear footsteps behind you, don't bother turning around. Whoever, or whatever it is, probably isn't paying for a ticket. Number 12. Chateau de Brissac, France. A castle in the French countryside? How dreamy. That is until you realize the most famous resident is a faceless woman in a green dress who enjoys wandering the halls at ungodly hours. Meet La Dame Verte, the long-dead owner of the Chateau de Brissac's worst marital scandal. Charlotte de Brézé, the illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII, was forced into a marriage with nobleman Jacques de Brazé. She wasn't thrilled about it, big shock, and soon enough, she found someone more thrilling to spend her time with. Jacques caught her in bed with another man, snapped, and turned their affair into a murder scene. It didn't take long before he fled, but sadly for the castle's future guests, Charlotte never left. People claim they see her staring at them from dark corners, her face an empty void where eyes and a nose should be. You know, normal ghost stuff. Number 11. Aokigahara Forest, Japan. Aokigahara, better known as Japan's suicide forest, isn't haunted in the usual boo kind of way. It's worse. Located at the base of Mount Fuji, this dense forest is eerily silent. No rustling leaves, no chirping birds, just a heavy, unnatural stillness. Since the 1960s, it's been a notorious spot for suicides, with estimates ranging from 30 to 100 deaths a year. The numbers got so bad that the government stopped releasing them, hoping to break the association. But the stories? They haven't stopped. Hikers report their compasses going haywire, phones dying without warning, and worst of all, whispers, sometimes calling their names. Japanese folklore speaks of yurei, vengeful spirits who haunt the woods, luring the lost deeper into its grasp. If you stray too far from the path, you might find yourself walking in circles, no matter which way you turn. Some say it's the spirits keeping you there. Others say it's just the terrain. Either way, don't wander alone. Number 10. Chuk Lagoon, Micronesia. Haunted houses are one thing, but what about a haunted ocean? Well, it sounds like a plot from a Dr. D. Trump movie, but it's real. Chuk Lagoon, an eerie underwater graveyard in Micronesia, holds the wreckage of a brutal World War II battle. Once a major Japanese naval base, it became the site of Operation Hailstone, a deadly three-day attack in 1944. Over 4,500 soldiers perished as ships and aircraft sank to the ocean floor, creating what is now one of the world's most infamous dive sites. But divers don't just find rusted hulls and abandoned artillery. They encounter something else. Ghostly voices, unexplained machinery noises, and shadowy figures moving through the wrecks have been widely reported. Some divers have even felt unseen hands grab them as if the spirits of lost sailors still patrol their watery tombs. Number 9. Old Changi Hospital, Singapore. Hospitals are already creepy, but Old Changi Hospital in Singapore takes the horror to another level. Built in the 1930s, it was originally a British military hospital, until World War II, when it became a torture chamber under Japanese occupation. Prisoners of war were subjected to unspeakable atrocities within its walls, and when the war ended, the hospital continued to operate until its closure in 1997. Now abandoned, the building has become infamous for ghost sightings and paranormal activity. Visitors have reported shadowy figures lurking in doorways, flickering lights in rooms with no power, and blood-curdling screams echoing through empty hallways. Some even claim to have seen apparitions of former patients standing motionless, watching. Visit at your own risk, but don't be surprised if you leave with more than just goosebumps. Number 8. Poveglia Island, Italy. Venice has a lot of charming islands, but Poveglia isn't one of them. In fact, it's so cursed that Italy has officially banned public visits. That's what happens when you turn an island into a dumping ground for plague victims and a 19th century insane asylum. Back in the 1700s, anyone showing symptoms of the bubonic plague was shipped off to Poveglia, where they either got better or were burned in mass graves. Decades later, the island was transformed into a psychiatric hospital where a definitely unethical doctor allegedly performed experimental lobotomies. Local legends say he was eventually driven mad by the spirits of his patients and threw himself from the bell tower. And the worst part? The bell, long since removed, is still heard ringing at night. Even Venetian fishermen refuse to go near Poveglia, claiming they've pulled up bones in their nets. If that's not a sign to steer clear, I don't know what is. All right, now let's talk about number 7, the Driscoll Hotel, Austin, Texas. The Driscoll Hotel isn't just Austin's most historic stay. It's a full-fledged paranormal playground. Since opening in 1886, this grand hotel has hosted politicians, celebrities, and, apparently, guests who never checked out. The most infamous ghost story? Room 525, where 2 separate brides, decades apart, took their own lives after being jilted at the altar. The air in that room feels different and heavier, and many guests report sudden cold chills or an unshakable sadness creeping in as soon as they step inside. And then there's Jesse Driscoll himself. The cattle baron who built the hotel wasn't one to fade quietly into history. His cigar smoke still lingers in the halls, despite no one lighting up. Some guests swear they've seen him roaming the lobby, surveying his masterpiece. Even President Lyndon B. Johnson, who had his first date with Lady Bird here, has been spotted in spectral form, proving that some guests just can't resist coming back for one more stay. Number 6. Akershus Fortress, Oslo, Norway. If you're looking for a fortress with a serious ghost problem, Akershus Fortress in Oslo might be at the top of the list. This medieval stronghold has protected the city for centuries, seen countless battles, and housed some particularly unfortunate prisoners, many of whom, if local legends are to be believed, never left. The most infamous specter? A massive jet-black demon dog called Malmgren, who supposedly guards the gates. The legend goes that anyone who locks eyes with the beast is doomed to die within the year. Not exactly a warm welcome. But the most unsettling presence? A faceless woman in a long robe, silently roaming the corridors. Those who've seen her say she doesn't just appear, she materializes, a blur of dark fabric and shifting shadows. Some visitors feel an overwhelming sense of dread near the castle walls, as if something unseen is watching. Entrance is free, but the nightmares? Those come at a price. Number 5. Castle of Good Hope, Cape Town, South Africa. The Castle of Good Hope sounds like it should be a place of fairy tales and happy endings. Instead, it's one of South Africa's most haunted locations, with a history steeped in colonial conflict, political executions, and a torture chamber that saw its fair share of horrors. The Dutch built it in the 1600s, the British turned parts of it into a prison, and now, ghosts refuse to give up the place. One of the most infamous apparitions is a towering, shadowy man seen pacing along the fortress walls before falling from the ramparts in a loop over and over again. Lady Anne Barnard, a noblewoman who once hosted grand parties here, has also been spotted, still lingering in her former home centuries after death. And then, there's the bell tower. The eerie part? The bell was sealed off with bricks years ago, yet people still hear it ringing in the dead of night. So, who or what is ringing it? Number 4. The Forbidden City, Beijing, China. By day, the Forbidden City is a breathtaking relic of China's imperial past. By night, it's a full-blown ghost story waiting to happen. Built in the 1400s, this sprawling complex has seen centuries of political intrigue, executions, and enough royal scandals to fuel a dozen horror films. Once the gates close, things get unsettling. Night watchmen whisper about her, a woman in a flowing white robe, her quiet sobs echoing through the courtyards. She drifts through the corridors, vanishing before anyone gets close. Others tell of a woman in black who, when confronted, slowly turns to reveal a face that simply isn't there. There's even a reason why all the thresholds here are so high. Legend has it that ghosts can't cross them. If you're skeptical, just ask your tour guide why so many of the palace's staff refuse to walk alone at night. Number 3. Hoia Baciu Forest, Cluj-Napoca, Romania. Welcome to Hoia Baciu, a forest so unnerving it makes the Blair Witch Project look like a nature documentary. Nicknamed the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, this eerie woodland is infamous for its twisted trees, unexplained disappearances, and an ominous clearing in the middle where nothing, not even grass, grows. Visitors often report an overwhelming sense of dread, as if unseen eyes are following their every move. Photographs taken here have revealed ghostly faces that weren't visible at the time, and some tourists have even claimed to see shadowy apparitions peeking from behind trees. If that's not enough, Hoia Baciu has a reputation for UFO activity. Bright hovering lights have been spotted above the canopy, and locals whisper about an entire shepherd's flock that vanished without a trace. Whether you believe in ghosts, aliens, or just really bad vibes, one thing's certain. Hoia Baciu isn't just a forest, it's something else entirely. Number 2. Kehoe House, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is already considered one of America's most haunted cities, but Kehoe House, it's in a league of its own. Built in 1892 for William and Anne Kehoe, this stunning Renaissance revival mansion was once home to their 10 children, until tragedy struck. No one knows exactly what happened, but rumors swirl about 2 of the children dying inside, possibly in a chimney. Yeah, let that sink in. By 1930, the house had been repurposed into a funeral home, which did absolutely nothing to help its ghost problem. Now a luxury bed and breakfast, guests report hearing children's laughter in empty hallways, footsteps pattering up the grand staircase, and disembodied voices whispering late at night. Some visitors have even woken up feeling small hands gently tugging at their blankets. Staying here might get you a great night's sleep, if you don't mind sharing the room with a few extra guests. Number 1. The Paris Catacombs, France. If you have even the slightest fear of being underground, do not enter the Paris Catacombs. Beneath the bustling streets of Paris, this labyrinth of tunnels holds the remains of over 6 million people, their bones stacked neatly in long, eerie corridors. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets, until all you hear is your own breathing and the occasional drip of water echoing in the dark. Tourists can explore a portion of the tunnels, but many who wander too far never make it back. According to urban legend, if you're inside after midnight, disembodied voices start whispering from the walls, urging you to step further, deeper, until you lose all sense of direction. And if you think you're alone down there, think again. CCTV footage once captured a man running, terrified, through the tunnels before vanishing completely. His body? Never found. If that doesn't make your skin crawl, nothing will. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.